The baby's cry cut through the night like a knife, and that's when Maya realized the 3 men blocking her car weren't going to let her leave alive. She'd seen that look before. 6 months ago, in a courtroom, when she'd pointed at Miguel Santos and said the words that put him away, "That's the man who shot my neighbor." The jury had believed her. Miguel's friends hadn't forgotten. Well. Snake stepped into the fluorescent glow of the gas station light, his gold tooth catching the glare. "If it ain't our favorite snitch." Maya's hand tightened on her key fob. The Honda's engine was already running. She'd learned never to turn it off since the starter died last month. Lucia's screams intensified from the back seat, that particular pitch that meant her daughter was past tired and into genuine distress. "I don't want any trouble." Maya's voice came out steadier than she felt. 12 hours on her feet at County General had taught her how to sound calm when everything inside was chaos. "Just let me leave." "See, that's the problem." Snake circled left while his boys, Trick and Demon, she remembered their stupid names from the trial, moved right. "You didn't let Miguel leave. Sent him up for 15 years. He shot an innocent man. He shot a rat." Snake pulled a knife from his pocket, casual as scratching an itch. "And rats breed rats, I guess." The blade caught the light as he drove it into her front tire. The hiss of escaping air sounded like her last chance dying. Lucia's cries reached a crescendo. Maya glanced at the gas station window where the attendant was watching, then he deliberately turned away and locked the door. Her phone sat useless on the passenger seat, battery dead since this morning. She'd meant to charge it at work. She'd meant to do a lot of things. Please. She hated the word even as it left her mouth. My baby. Cute kid. Snake moved toward the rear door, and Maya's vision went red at the edges. She lunged forward, putting herself between him and Lucia, even knowing it was useless. Even knowing she was 5'4" and 120 pounds against 3 men who hurt people for fun. Then the ground started to shake. At first Maya thought it was fear making her knees weak, but no, the asphalt was actually vibrating under her feet. The rumble grew louder, deeper, like thunder rolling in from all directions at once. Motorcycles. 7 of them, massive machines that looked like they'd been built for war, surrounded the gas station in a loose circle. The engines cut simultaneously, leaving a silence that felt heavier than the noise. The riders didn't dismount. They just sat there, leather-clad and faceless behind dark helmets, waiting. The leader removed his helmet. Maya forgot to breathe. He was older than the others, maybe early 40s, with black hair shot through with silver and a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. They were pale, almost colorless in the fluorescent light, and when they caught the glare they flashed amber, like an animal's. Like something that hunted in the dark. Gentlemen. His voice was gravel and smoke. I think you're blocking the lady's exit. Snake recovered first, puffing his chest out. This ain't your business, old man. The stranger smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Kid, everything in this county is my business. He swung off his bike with the kind of grace that big men shouldn't have. Now, you can walk away and I'll forget I saw you threatening a woman and child. Or you can stay, and I'll remember your faces real well. You know who we run with? Demon stepped forward, trying to match the stranger's energy and failing badly. We're Vipers, man. I know exactly who you run with. The stranger moved closer, and Maya saw Snake's hand tremble on his knife. Question is, do you know who I am? Something passed between them. Some unspoken understanding that made all 3 thugs go pale. Trick was already backing toward their car. Snake held out another few seconds before his nerve broke. This ain't over, he spat at Maya. But he was moving away, his boys scrambling after him. Their Cadillac peeled out of the parking lot, leaving rubber and the stink of burned oil. The other motorcycles didn't pursue. They just watched, silent sentinels, until the taillights disappeared. Maya realized she was shaking. Lucia had stopped crying, shocked into silence by the sudden change in atmosphere. Thank you. The words felt inadequate. I don't know what would have happened if. You're Maya Torres. It wasn't a question. The stranger's eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. You testified against Miguel Santos. New fear spiked through her exhaustion. How do you? I know a lot of things. He glanced at her slashed tire, then at Lucia in the back seat. When his gaze returned to Maya, something had shifted in his expression. Something almost like pain. You should get that tire changed. It's not safe for you to be out here. I can't afford. She stopped, pride warring with desperation. The tire would cost money she didn't have. But what choice did she have? Tony. The stranger didn't raise his voice, but one of the other riders materialized at his elbow. Change the lady's tire. Make it quick. On it, Declan. Declan. The name fit him, hard and sharp with old Irish roots. Maya watched him watch her, trying to figure out if she'd just traded one kind of danger for another. I don't understand, she said finally. Why did they leave? What did you say to them? I reminded them of who holds power in this county. Declan stepped closer, and Maya caught his scent, leather and engine oil and something wild underneath, like pine forests after rain. But that's not what you should be worried about. What should I be worried about? He was silent for a long moment, his jaw working like he was choosing his words carefully. When Snake turned to leave, I saw his neck. He's got a tattoo, 3 claws crossed over a crescent moon. You see that? Maya tried to remember. Everything had happened so fast. Maybe? I don't know. You need to know. Declan's voice dropped lower, urgent now. Because that mark means he's not just some street thug. He's connected to something bigger. Something that doesn't forgive and doesn't forget. I thought that's what gangs were. Not like this. His eyes flashed amber again, she wasn't imagining it. Listen to me carefully, Maya. Those men tonight? They weren't there by chance. They were sent. And the people who sent them are going to try again. Her blood went cold. Why? Miguel's in prison. I'm nobody. I'm just a nurse trying to raise my daughter. You saw something that night. Declan cut her off. When you witnessed that shooting. You saw something you didn't understand. Something you maybe didn't even remember until now. Maya's mind raced back. The night had been chaos, gunshots, screaming, Miguel's face in the streetlight. But there had been something else, hadn't there? A shadow moving too fast. A sound like an animal growling. She'd told herself it was trauma, imagination, the mind playing tricks in extreme stress. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Declan reached out slowly, like he was gentling a spooked horse, and touched her shoulder. The contact sent electricity through her body, warm and terrifying and wrong in ways she couldn't name. And that's why you're in danger. Tony finished with the tire, giving Declan a nod. The other bikers were mounting up, engines rumbling back to life. We'll escort you home, Declan said. Make sure you get there safe. I don't need. Yes. His voice turned hard. You do. Because there are things hunting in this county that are worse than street thugs. Things that won't stop at slashed tires. He paused, and when he spoke again his tone was gentler. I know you don't trust me. You shouldn't. But right now I'm the only thing standing between you and something you can't fight. Lucia started fussing again, reminding Maya that her daughter needed feeding, changing, sleep. That she'd been running on empty for months and couldn't afford to refuse help, even from a dangerous stranger with impossible eyes. Okay, she whispered. Declan nodded and stepped back, putting distance between them like the contact had affected him too. Stay close to my bike. We'll follow you home. And Maya? He turned back, his expression grave. Lock your doors tonight. All of them. Don't open them for anyone until sunrise. You're scaring me. Good. His smile was sad this time. Fear keeps you alive. At least until I figure out what the hell the Silverclaw Syndicate wants with you. He mounted his bike, the engine roaring to life. The other 6 machines formed up around her Honda like an honor guard. Or a prison escort. Maya got behind the wheel with trembling hands, checking that Lucia was secure before pulling out of the gas station. In her rearview mirror, she could see Declan's bike following close, his eyes reflecting the glow of her taillights. Amber. Impossible. Inhuman. She thought about Miguel's trial. About the shadow that had moved too fast. About the witness who'd disappeared before he could testify, and the detective who'd warned her that there were things in this city that the law couldn't touch. She thought about the way Declan had looked at her, like he'd recognized something. Like he'd seen something that changed everything. And she wondered, as she drove through the empty streets with a motorcycle gang as her guardians, what exactly she'd gotten herself into. What exactly had been hunting her all along. Chapter 2. The apartment door hung open like a broken jaw. Maya's foot hovered over the threshold, her body refusing to move forward even as her mind screamed at her to check on their belongings. Behind her, Declan's hand caught her shoulder, pulling her back with gentle force. Stay here. His voice was quiet but absolute. That's my home. Was your home? He moved past her, gesturing for 2 of his riders, Tony and another man she hadn't been introduced to flank him. Now it's a crime scene. Maya watched them disappear inside, her heart hammering against her ribs. In the back seat of the Honda, Lucia had finally cried herself to sleep, tiny fists clutched against her chest. The sight of her daughter's tear-stained face made something hard and sharp lodge in Maya's throat. This was supposed to be their safe place. The apartment was a dump, 4th-floor walk-up with heating that barely worked and neighbors who screamed at each other through paper-thin walls, but it was theirs. She'd scrubbed every inch of it when they moved in, had hung cheap curtains to make it cheerful, had promised Lucia they'd be okay here. Another promise broken. Declan emerged 5 minutes later, his expression grim. It's clear. But you need to see this. The apartment looked like a tornado had torn through it. Couch cushions gutted, their stuffing scattered across the floor like snow. Kitchen cabinets hanging open, dishes smashed. Her bedroom was worse, mattress flipped, clothes strewn everywhere, even Lucia's crib had been overturned. They were looking for something, Declan said, watching her face. Something specific. Any idea what? Maya shook her head, numb. She owned nothing worth stealing. No jewelry, no electronics besides her dead phone, no cash stashed away. Everything valuable in her life was either on her body or asleep in the car. The question is, did they find it? Finn appeared in the doorway, his earlier cockiness replaced by professional assessment. He was younger than Declan, maybe early 30s. With the kind of pretty boy face that probably got him in and out of trouble regularly. Or are they going to come back? They'll come back. Sage pushed past him, her dark eyes scanning the destruction with a warrior's efficiency. She was lean and dangerous looking, with her black hair pulled into a severe braid and tattoos snaking up both arms. This wasn't a smash and grab. This was a message. What message? Maya's voice came out smaller than she intended. Sage looked at her directly for the first time. That they can reach you anywhere. The words hit like a physical blow. Maya sank onto what remained of her couch, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. She'd worked so hard to build this life. After escaping Lucia's father, after the restraining order and the safe house and the terror of those first months alone, she'd clawed her way to something resembling stability. She'd found this apartment, gotten her nursing degree, made a life where she controlled who had access to her and her daughter. And in one night, it had all come apart. Pack what you need. Declan crouched in front of her, his impossible eyes level with hers. Clothes for you and the baby. Any documents you can't replace. We're leaving. Where am I supposed to go? With us. He said it like it was simple. Like she should trust a stranger who'd materialized out of the night with his gang of bikers and his secrets. Just for tonight. Until we figure out what's happening. I can't. Maya looked around at the ruins of her home. I have work tomorrow. Lucia has a doctor's appointment. I can't just disappear. You can't stay here. Sage's voice was surprisingly gentle despite her harsh exterior. Look, I get it. You don't know us. You shouldn't trust us. But whoever did this? She gestured at the destruction. They're not going to stop. And they're clearly escalating. Maya thought about Snake's knife sliding into her tire. About the way he'd reached for Lucia's car seat. About the tattoo Declan had mentioned, the mark of something bigger and more dangerous than street thugs. Just tonight, Declan repeated. Then we'll figure out next steps. But right now, your daughter needs to be somewhere safe. Somewhere warm, with food and a place to sleep. He paused. Somewhere they don't know about. Lucia. The name was enough to break through Maya's paralysis. She nodded and stood, moving automatically toward what was left of her bedroom. Most of Lucia's clothes were still in the dresser, though the drawers had been pulled out and dumped. She gathered what she could, onesies, sleepers, diapers from the emergency stash she kept in the closet. Her own belongings were harder. Everything felt contaminated now, touched by hostile hands. But she forced herself to pack, scrubs for work, jeans, a jacket. At the last minute, she grabbed the folder from the kitchen drawer, the one with her testimony paperwork, Lucia's birth certificate, her nursing license. Something made her look closer at the folder. The edges were bent in a way they hadn't been before. Someone had opened it. Searched through it. But they'd missed something. Maya's fingers found the small bump along the inside seam, something she'd never noticed before because she'd never had reason to look. She carefully peeled back the manila paper and her breath caught. A USB drive. Small, black, taped carefully inside the folder's lining. She had no memory of putting it there. No idea what was on it or why it was hidden in her documents. But she knew, with the certainty of prey recognizing a predator's track, that this was what they'd been looking for. Maya? Declan's voice came from the doorway. You okay? She closed the folder quickly, clutching it to her chest. Fine. This is hard. He nodded, understanding in those strange eyes. Take your time. We're not in a rush. But they were. Maya could feel it in the way Sage kept checking the windows. In the way Finn had positioned himself by the door, body tense and ready. In the way Declan himself seemed to be listening to something beyond normal human hearing. They packed her and Lucia's life into 3 garbage bags and loaded them into Declan's truck, a massive black thing that had appeared from somewhere while they were inside. Maya transferred Lucia's car seat while her daughter slept on, exhausted by the night's chaos. What about my car? Maya asked, looking at the sad Honda with its new tire. We'll have it towed to the compound tomorrow, Declan said. Right now, I want you where I can see you. The ride to the Iron Moon compound took 40 minutes, heading out of the city and into the industrial outskirts where civilization frayed into empty lots and abandoned warehouses. Maya held Lucia against her chest and watched the streetlights thin out, replaced by darkness and the occasional glow of a distant building. She should be terrified. Every instinct screamed that she was making a mistake, trading one danger for another. These were bikers, criminals, probably, and she was taking her infant daughter into their territory. But when she glanced at Declan's profile, illuminated by the dashboard lights, she felt something else entirely. Something warm and dangerous that had nothing to do with fear. The compound appeared like a fortress rising from the darkness. High walls topped with what looked like razor wire, heavy gates that rolled open at their approach, buildings clustered together like a small village. Security lights blazed to life as they entered, revealing a courtyard surrounded by structures that ranged from warehouse size to cottage small. Welcome to Iron Moon. Declan parked near the largest building, a converted factory space with motorcycles lined up outside like mechanical cavalry. It's not fancy, but it's secure. Maya climbed out, holding Lucia close. The other bikes had already arrived, their riders dismounting and watching her with expressions that ranged from curious to wary. More people emerged from the buildings, men and women of various ages, all wearing the same leather cuts with patches she couldn't read in the darkness. "This is Maya and her daughter Lucia," Declan announced to the assembled group. "They're under pack protection until further notice. Anyone have a problem with that?" Silence. Then an older man stepped forward, wiping grease-stained hands on a rag. He was 60-something with silver hair and sharp eyes that assessed Maya with surprising kindness. "Marcus." He offered his hand. "Welcome. You look like you could use some coffee and a decent meal." The gentleness in his voice broke something loose in Maya's chest. She realized she was shaking, adrenaline and fear and exhaustion finally catching up to her. "Thank you. Come on." Sage appeared at her elbow, her earlier suspicion replaced by practical efficiency. "Let's get you settled. The baby needs feeding and you need sleep." Maya let herself be led inside, through a surprisingly clean common area with worn leather furniture and a massive stone fireplace. The space smelled like coffee and motor oil and something else, something wild that she couldn't quite identify. Sage took her down a hallway to a small room with a double bed and a wooden crib that looked handmade. "It's not much," she said. "But the door locks from the inside and you'll be safe here." "Why are you helping me?" The question came out before Maya could stop it. "You don't know me." Sage studied her for a long moment. "Declan says you need protection. That's enough for me." She paused at the door. "But understand something, this pack is family. We protect our own. If you're here, even temporarily, you're under that protection. But if you do anything to threaten this family..." She let the sentence hang, unfinished but clear. "I won't." Maya met her gaze. "I just want to keep my daughter safe." "Then we want the same thing." Sage's expression softened slightly. "There's formula in the kitchen and diapers in the closet there. Marcus keeps the place stocked in case." She trailed off. "Anyway. You need anything, I'm 2 doors down." After she left, Maya set about making Lucia comfortable. The crib was sturdy and clean, with soft blankets that smelled like lavender. She changed and fed her daughter, watching Lucia's eyes slowly close again, finally content. Only when her baby was asleep did Maya let herself examine the room properly. It was sparse but not uncomfortable, the bed was old but the mattress decent, and someone had left a pitcher of water and glasses on the nightstand. The window overlooked the courtyard, where she could see figures moving between buildings, hear the low rumble of conversation. She pulled out the folder and stared at it for a long moment before extracting the USB drive. What was on this thing? Who had put it in her papers? And why did it feel like the answer to why her life had suddenly become a nightmare? A knock on the door made her jump. She shoved the drive into her pocket before calling out, "Yes?" Declan entered, carrying a plate of food and another mug of coffee. "Thought you might be hungry." "I'm not," her stomach growled, betraying her. When had she last eaten? Lunch, maybe? That felt like a lifetime ago. He smiled slightly and set the plate on the bed. Scrambled eggs, toast, some kind of meat that smelled incredible. "Eat. Then we'll talk." Maya wanted to refuse on principle. But she was starving and exhausted, and the food was right there. She ate while Declan watched from the doorway, giving her space but not quite leaving. "Why are you doing this?" she asked between bites. "Doing what?" "Helping me. You don't know me. I could be anyone, a criminal, a crazy person, someone who brings trouble wherever she goes. You're a mother protecting her child." Declan's voice was quiet. "And you're in danger through no fault of your own. That's enough." "But why you specifically? Why did you stop at that gas station? How did you know my name?" He was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he said, "I make it my business to know what happens in this county. When you testified against Miguel Santos, I took note. The Vipers have been expanding their territory, and that trial was significant. So you've been watching me? The idea should have been creepy. Instead, it felt almost safe. Like someone had been standing guard without her knowing. Not watching. Just aware. His eyes caught the light from the hallway, flashing amber again. Maya's breath hitched. The world is more complicated than you know, Maya. More dangerous. And when I saw those men threatening you tonight. His jaw tightened. I couldn't walk away. Because of the tattoo. The mark you mentioned. Partly. He shifted, and Maya noticed how he moved, too fluid, too graceful for a man his size. But there's more to it. Things I can't explain yet. Try me. Maya set down her empty plate. Someone ransacked my apartment. Someone is apparently willing to kill me over something I don't even understand. I think I deserve some answers. Declan studied her, and she had the strangest sense that he was warring with himself. Finally, he said, there's a criminal organization called the Silver Claw Syndicate. They deal in drugs, weapons, human trafficking, the worst of the worst. Miguel Santos worked for them. And I think the shooting you witnessed was more than just a drug deal gone wrong. What do you mean? I mean, I think you saw something you shouldn't have. Something that implicates people far more powerful than Miguel Santos. He paused. Did anything seem strange that night? Anything you maybe didn't mention in your testimony? Maya's mind raced back. She'd been coming home from a late shift, cutting through the alley because it saved time. She'd heard the gunshot, had seen Miguel standing over Mr. Chen, had watched him run. Simple. Clear. Except. There was someone else, she whispered, the memory surfacing like something from a dream. Before Miguel ran. A shadow, moving too fast. I thought I imagined it. Declan leaned forward, suddenly intense. What did it look like? I don't know. Big. Animal-like, maybe? It was dark and I was scared and, she looked up at him. You believe me? Yes. Why? Everyone else said it was trauma. Adrenaline. My mind playing tricks. Because I know what's real in this world. His voice was rough. And I know what the Silver Claw Syndicate is capable of. Before Maya could respond, raised voices echoed from somewhere in the compound. Declan's head snapped toward the sound, his entire body tensing in a way that reminded Maya of a predator catching a scent. Stay here, he ordered. Lock the door behind me. What's happening? But he was already gone, moving with that impossible fluid grace. Maya went to the door, listening to the voices grow louder. She could make out Sage's sharp tone and Declan's deeper rumble, but not the words. Curiosity and fear warred inside her. She should lock the door like he said. Should stay safe with Lucia. But she needed to understand what she'd gotten into. What these people were hiding. She checked that Lucia was sleeping soundly, then slipped into the hallway. The voices were coming from the main common area. Maya crept closer, staying in the shadows, until she could see the group gathered around the fireplace. Claiming a human will break the pack. Sage's voice was furious. You know the rules, Declan. You wrote half of them yourself. I'm not claiming anyone. Declan's back was to Maya, but she could hear the strain in his voice. I'm protecting an innocent. Your wolf doesn't see it that way. This from Marcus, his elderly voice sad. We can all feel it. You've recognized her. What I feel doesn't matter. It's everything that matters. Sage cut him off. The curse won't allow it. You bind yourself to a human, you condemn us all. Or have you forgotten what happened to Alpha James? Silence. Then Declan, quieter. I haven't forgotten. Then you know what's at stake. Finn's voice, unusually serious. We love you, brother. But we can't let you do this. The pack comes first. I know that. Declan's shoulders sagged slightly. But I can't just let her die. She's innocent. And that child. We'll be fine, Sage said, though her voice had softened. We'll protect them both. We'll figure out who's targeting her and why. But you need to stay away from her. No contact beyond what's absolutely necessary for her safety. My wolf won't accept that. Then make it accept it. Marcus stood, moving to put a hand on Declan's shoulder. You're alpha. You control the wolf, not the other way around. Maya's heart was pounding so hard she was sure they could hear it. Wolf? Alpha? Curse? What were they talking about? And what did Declan mean about claiming her? She should move. Should go back to her room before they realized she was listening. But her feet seemed rooted to the floor, her mind struggling to process what she was hearing. I'll try. Declan's voice was barely above a whisper. But if they come for her again, then we'll handle it as a pack. Sage's voice was firm. Together. Like we always do. The group began to disperse, and Maya suddenly realized she was about to be caught eavesdropping. She turned and fled back down the hallway as quietly as she could, slipping into her room and closing the door just as footsteps approached. She stood in the darkness, heart racing, trying to make sense of what she'd heard. These people weren't just bikers. They were something else. Something that talked about wolves and alphas and curses like they were real things. And Declan, whatever he was hiding, it was big enough to threaten his entire group. Maya pulled out the USB drive and stared at it in the dim light. Whatever was on this thing, it had brought her into something far stranger and more dangerous than a simple gang vendetta. She needed answers. And she was fairly certain that this tiny piece of plastic held at least some of them. But did she really want to know? Once she looked, there would be no going back. No pretending this was just bad luck or wrong place, wrong time. She would be choosing to step deeper into the darkness. Maya looked at Lucia, sleeping peacefully in her borrowed crib. She thought about the ransacked apartment, Snake's knife, the shadow she'd seen the night of the shooting. She thought about Declan's impossible eyes and the way he'd said, "My wolf," like it was a separate entity he had to control. Then she pulled out her phone, dead, useless, and realized she had no way to access the drive tonight anyway. Maybe that was for the best. Maybe the universe was giving her one more night of ignorance before everything changed. She climbed into bed, exhausted beyond measure, and tried not to think about the conversation she'd overheard. Tried not to wonder what it meant that Declan had recognized her. Tried not to feel the strange warmth that had bloomed in her chest at the idea that he was fighting his own nature to stay away from her. But as she drifted towards sleep, one thought kept circling. She'd stumbled into something ancient and dangerous, and she had a terrible feeling that by morning, there would be no turning back. Chapter 3. 3 days at the Iron Moon compound, and Maya was starting to forget what her old life had felt like. She told herself it was temporary. That she was just waiting for the police to finish processing her apartment, though the 2 officers who'd shown up had taken one look at the destruction, filed a report, and essentially told her there wasn't much they could do without evidence. She told herself she'd find a new place any day now, somewhere safe and affordable where she and Lucia could start over. But the truth was harder to admit, she didn't want to leave. The compound had rhythms she'd learned to read. Marcus in the garage by dawn, the smell of coffee and engine grease mixing in the morning air. Sage running the perimeter at first light, her lean body a study in controlled power. Finn charming his way through breakfast prep, flirting with everyone regardless of gender and making even the grumpiest pack members smile. And Declan. Always Declan, with his quiet presence and watchful eyes, seeming to know where she was at every moment without ever crowding her. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like safety. Again. Declan's voice cut through her thoughts, bringing her back to the present, the compound's gym, which was really just a converted warehouse space with mats and equipment that had seen better days. Maya reset her stance, trying to remember the self-defense moves he'd been teaching her for the past hour. Her body ached in places she hadn't known existed, and sweat plastered her tank top to her skin. "I don't see the point," she panted. If those men come back, knowing how to throw a punch isn't going to save me. It's not about winning a fight. Declan moved behind her, adjusting her posture with hands that lingered perhaps a moment longer than necessary. It's about buying yourself seconds. Seconds to run, to scream, to get to safety. His chest pressed against her back as he guided her arm through the proper motion. Maya felt the heat of him, the solid strength, and her concentration scattered like leaves in wind. Like this, he murmured near her ear, and she felt his breath against her neck. Use your whole body, not just your arm. Power comes from the core. He demonstrated, moving her through the motion, and Maya was acutely aware of every point of contact between them. This had been happening more over the past 3 days, these moments where the air seemed to thicken, where she caught him watching her with an intensity that made her skin flush. She should be afraid of it. Should remember her promises to herself about never depending on a man again, never letting someone have that kind of power over her. But when Declan touched her, all she felt was alive. Now you try. He stepped back, and the loss of his warmth felt like a physical ache. Maya went through the motion, putting her weight into it like he'd shown her. The practice dummy swung on its chain, and she felt a surge of satisfaction. Better. Declan smiled, and the expression transformed his scarred face into something almost boyish. You're a fast learner. I had good motivation. Maya grabbed a towel, wiping sweat from her face. So, this legitimate motorcycle repair business you run, is that really what this place is? They'd danced around this conversation for days. Declan had explained the basics. Iron Moon MC did custom bike work, provided security consulting for local businesses, and occasionally handled problems that the police couldn't or wouldn't deal with. Legal, mostly. Ethical, always, by their own code, anyway. But Maya knew there was more. She'd seen the way pack members talked in hushed voices when she walked by. Had noticed how they all deferred to Declan with a reverence that went beyond respect for a boss. Had overheard enough fragments of conversation to know they were hiding something big. It's what we tell the IRS, Declan said, his tone carefully light. And it's not a lie. We do excellent custom work. Marcus can rebuild an engine blindfolded. But we're also a family. And families protect their own. He moved closer, studying her face. Does that bother you? Should it? Most people are bothered by things they don't understand. Maya thought about the conversation she'd overheard that first night. About wolves and alphas and curses. About the way Declan sometimes moved too fast, too gracefully. About how his eyes caught light in ways that weren't quite human. I think, she said slowly, that you've protected me more in 3 days than most people have in my entire life. Whatever else you are, whatever else this place is, that matters more. Something flickered in Declan's expression. Pain, maybe. Or longing. You don't know what you're saying. Don't I? Maya stepped closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. I know that Lucia reaches for you like you're her favorite person. I know that Sage, who clearly doesn't trust easily, has been teaching me which herbs are safe for teething babies. I know that Marcus fixed my car and wouldn't take payment. I know that. Maya. Her name was rough in his throat. You need to stop. Why? Because tonight is difficult for us. For me. He turned away, his shoulders tight with tension. And I need you to stay in your room. Don't come out, no matter what you hear. Can you promise me that? What's happening tonight? Nothing you need to worry about. Just pack business. Things we handle on our own. He faced her again, and his eyes were doing that amber flash thing. Please. Just this once, don't ask questions. Don't investigate. Stay safe with Lucia. Every instinct Maya had was screaming that something was wrong. But the raw plea in his voice made her nod. Okay. I'll stay in my room. The relief on his face was almost painful to witness. Thank you. He left quickly after that, and Maya was alone in the gym with her racing thoughts and the memory of his hands on her body. Dinner was a subdued affair. The pack ate together in the main building, something Maya had learned was tradition, but tonight the usual banter was missing. People picked at their food, exchanged loaded glances, and kept checking the windows as if waiting for something. Sage sat next to Maya, closer than usual. "You remember what Declan said? About staying in your room tonight?" "Yes, but..." "No buts." Sage's voice was unusually gentle. "Sometimes the best way to stay safe is to not know everything. Trust me on this. Is Declan in danger?" "Declan is always in danger. Comes with the territory." Sage squeezed Maya's shoulder. "But tonight especially, he needs to know you're secure. It helps him stay focused." Before Maya could ask what that meant, Lucia started fussing. She'd been clingy all day, as if sensing the tension in the compound. Maya excused herself and took her daughter back to their room, grateful for the distraction. She fed and changed Lucia, then rocked her until she finally drifted off. Through the window, Maya could see the sun setting, painting the compound in shades of orange and red. Beautiful and somehow ominous. The full moon rose early, massive and silver bright. Maya had never seen it so large, so close. It seemed to fill the window, and something about it made her skin prickle with unease. She tried to distract herself. Pulled out the USB drive she'd been carrying in her pocket for 3 days, turning it over in her fingers. She still hadn't found a way to access it. Her phone was charged now, but you couldn't plug a USB into a phone without an adapter. And asking to borrow someone's computer felt dangerous for reasons she couldn't quite articulate. Whatever was on this drive, it was connected to everything. She was certain of that now. A howl split the night. Maya jumped, nearly dropping the USB. The sound was primal, wild, nothing like any dog she'd ever heard. It raised the hair on her arms and made something ancient in her hindbrain scream danger. Another howl answered. Then another. A chorus of them, rising from different points around the compound. "Stay in your room," Declan had said. "Don't come out, no matter what you hear." But Maya had never been good at following orders, especially when they didn't make sense. And something about those howls called to her, pulled at something deep in her chest that recognized them as important. She checked that Lucia was sleeping soundly, then slipped into the hallway. The main building was empty, lights off, eerily silent except for the howling outside. Maya moved through the darkness toward the back door, her heart hammering. The door was unlocked. Careless, unless everyone was too distracted to care about security. The moonlight hit her like a physical force as she stepped outside. It was so bright she could see everything in sharp detail: the courtyard, the outbuildings, the fence line. And the wolves. They were gathered in the open space beyond the main buildings, massive shapes that stood taller than any natural wolf should. Their coats caught the moonlight, silver, black, russet, gray, and their eyes glowed with intelligence that was distinctly, terrifyingly not animal. Maya's breath froze in her lungs. This wasn't possible. Wolves didn't get that big. Didn't move with that kind of coordination, that clear sense of purpose. Then she saw him. The largest wolf stood slightly apart from the pack, black fur shot through with silver, a scar visible even in this form running down his muzzle. He lifted his head and looked directly at her, and his eyes flashed amber. Declan. The world tilted. Maya's knees buckled and she grabbed the doorframe for support, her mind refusing to process what she was seeing even as the evidence stood before her. Werewolves. They were werewolves. The word felt absurd even thinking it. Werewolves were myths, stories, horror movies. They weren't real. They couldn't be real. But she'd seen it. Was seeing it. The massive wolf with Declan's eyes, the pack surrounding him, the impossible reality of their existence. A smaller wolf, gray with intelligent dark eyes that could only be Sage, moved toward her, and Maya's paralysis broke. She turned and ran back inside, her thoughts a chaos of terror and disbelief. She had to leave. Had to get Lucia and run and never look back. These weren't people, they were monsters, and she'd been sleeping under their roof, eating their food, letting them near her daughter. Maya burst into her room and went straight to Lucia's crib. Her daughter was awake now, disturbed by the commotion, and she started to cry as Maya picked her up. "Shoo, baby, it's okay. We're leaving. We're..." A howl rose, closer this time. Right outside the building. Maya grabbed the diaper bag with shaking hands, looking wildly around for anything else she might need. Her phone, her wallet, the folder with their documents. The USB drive fell from her pocket and she scooped it up, shoving it into the bag. The hallway was still empty when she emerged, Lucia crying against her shoulder. Maya ran for the front door, praying her car keys were where she'd left them in the kitchen. She burst outside and froze. Wolves surrounded the front of the building. Not the pack, these were different, unfamiliar, with eyes that held malice instead of that eerie intelligence. And they were between her and any possible escape route. Maya backed up slowly, clutching Lucia tight. The baby's cries seemed impossibly loud in the moonlit silence. One of the strange wolves, a huge russet female with a scarred muzzle, stepped forward and began to change. The transformation was grotesque and beautiful at once. Bones cracking, reshaping, fur receding to reveal skin. In seconds, a woman stood where the wolf had been, naked, scarred, with long red hair and eyes that burned with hatred. Maya Torres. The woman's voice was rough, like she wasn't used to human speech. "We've been waiting for you." "Who?" Maya's voice cracked. She cleared her throat and tried again. "Who are you?" "My name is Katrina. And you're going to help me break a curse." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" Katrina moved closer, and Maya saw that her scars weren't random, they formed patterns, symbols carved deliberately into her skin. "Your mother was Sarah Chen. Born Sarah Whitmore. Last of the Whitmore witch bloodline." The words hit like hammering blows. "My mother is dead. And she wasn't a witch, she was a secretary. She was a witch who cursed my pack 20 years ago." Katrina's smile was feral. "Cursed us to be bound to the moon, slaves to the transformation, unable to control when or how we shift. And you, daughter of Sarah, carry the power to break that curse." "You're insane." Maya looked around wildly, hoping to see Declan's pack, help, anyone. "I'm not a witch. I'm a nurse. I don't have any power. You have her blood. That's power enough." Katrina gestured, and two more wolves shifted into human form, males, younger, just as scarred. "And you have something else we need. The USB drive. Your mother's final work, the specifications of the curse and its counter. Hand it over." Maya's hand tightened on the diaper bag. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Liar." Katrina's eyes flashed yellow. "We ransacked your apartment looking for it. We've been tracking you since you testified against Miguel. He was one of ours, you see. Planted in the Viper crew to keep an eye on you. We knew Sarah had a daughter. Knew eventually you'd lead us to what we needed. The shooting was staged. Miguel was supposed to die that night, after establishing contact with you. But you complicated things by actually witnessing it, by testifying. So we improvised." Katrina tilted her head. "Did you really think it was coincidence that the Vipers found you at that gas station? We sent them. Knew the Iron Moon pack would interfere. Knew Declan Cross would recognize you." Maya's mind reeled. "Recognize me? His mate." The word dripped with contempt. "Werewolves can sense their fated mates, the one person who can complete their soul. And you, little witch's daughter, are Declan's. Which makes everything so much simpler. I don't understand. The counter curse requires a willing sacrifice. A witch's daughter, bonded to a werewolf through a mating bite, offering her power freely to break what her bloodline created." Katrina's smile widened. "You're going to let Declan claim you. And then you're going to break my curse. And if I refuse?" Katrina's hand moved faster than Maya could track, snatching Lucia from her arms. The baby screamed, and Maya lunged forward only to be caught by the male wolves. "Then I kill your daughter." Katrina held Lucia carelessly, like she was a doll instead of a living child. "And make you watch. And then still force you to break the curse, because we can compel you through pain just as easily as cooperation. But I'm hoping you'll be smart." Rage and terror warred in Maya's chest. "Don't hurt her. Please." A howl cut through the night, different from the others, deeper, darker, filled with such fury that even the silver claw wolves flinched. Declan's massive black form exploded from the shadows, and the world became chaos. He hit the first male wolf with the force of a freight train, jaws closing on the creature's throat. The other male shifted mid-leap, meeting Declan's charge with claws extended. They collided in a tangle of fur and fangs, rolling across the courtyard. More wolves poured in, Sage's gray form, Finn's golden one, Marcus surprisingly huge and silver. The Iron Moon pack had come, and they were terrifying in their coordinated violence. Maya used the distraction to wrench free from the distracted wolves holding her. She lunged for Katrina, who still held Lucia, operating on pure maternal instinct with no thought for her own safety. Katrina shifted one hand, claws extending from human fingers in a partial transformation. She raised them toward Lucia's soft skin. And Declan was there, moving impossibly fast even in his massive wolf form. He placed himself between Katrina and Maya, snarling, every line of his body screaming protection. Katrina laughed. "You can't kill me without her seeing what you really are, Cross. Without showing her the monster." Declan's response was to shift. Maya watched in horrified fascination as the massive wolf condensed, reshaped, became the man she'd been falling for. He stood naked in the moonlight, scarred and powerful and utterly inhuman, and met Katrina's eyes with cold fury. "She already knows." His voice was deeper, rougher than normal, more wolf than man. "And she's staying anyway. Is she?" Katrina looked at Maya, still holding Lucia. "Tell me, little human. Now that you know what they are, what he is, do you still trust them? Still believe they're the good guys?" Maya looked at Declan. At his pack, fighting viciously to protect her. At Marcus taking a vicious swipe across his flank to keep one of the silver claw wolves from reaching her. At Sage, smaller than the others but fierce as she defended the perimeter. She thought about 3 days of safety. Of Lucia giggling in Declan's arms. Of the way he'd taught her to fight, to protect herself, never once using his superior strength to intimidate. Of how the pack had welcomed her, fed her, given her sanctuary when she had nowhere else to go. Monsters, maybe. But they were her monsters. "Yes," Maya said clearly. "I trust them." Something flashed in Declan's eyes, hope, relief, wonder. Then he moved, faster than Katrina could react, and ripped Lucia from the other woman's grasp. He handed the screaming baby to Maya, placing himself between them and Katrina once more. "You need to run," he said to Maya. "Now. Get to the main building and lock yourself in the safe room. Sage will show you." "No." Maya clutched Lucia to her chest. "If she's telling the truth, if I'm the only one who can break this curse, then running won't help. She'll just keep coming. Maya. Tell me the truth." She met his eyes. "All of it. What does it mean that you recognized me? What's a mating bite? What does she want me to do?" Declan looked at Katrina, at the battle still raging around them, then back at Maya. In his eyes, she saw a man at the end of his rope, forced to reveal secrets he'd hoped to keep buried. "You're my mate," he said roughly. "The one person in all the world meant for me. I knew it the moment I saw you at that gas station, knew it in my soul, in my wolf. But I can't claim you." The last alpha who marked a human mate brought disaster to his pack. There's a curse, an old one, that says a wolf who claims a human will lose control, will become a monster in truth. But you haven't lost control. Because I haven't claimed you. Haven't marked you with my bite, haven't completed the bond. His hands clenched into fists. And I won't. Even if it means my wolf howls every night. Even if it means I can never touch you the way I want to. You're human, Maya. You deserve a normal life. What if I don't want normal? The words came out before she could stop them. What if I want this, want you, whatever the cost? You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. Maya shifted Lucia to one arm and reached out with her free hand, touching Declan's scarred chest over his heart. I know that you make me feel safe for the first time since I can remember. I know that my daughter loves you. I know that I trust you with our lives. That's not nothing. It's not enough. But his hand covered hers, holding it against his heart. Maya, if I claim you, if we complete the mating bond, then I can break Katrina's curse. Maya looked at the other woman, who was watching this exchange with predatory interest. That's what you said, right? A witch's daughter, willingly bonded to a werewolf. That's the key. Yes. Katrina smiled. Your mother cursed us out of revenge. We killed her mate, you see, when he tried to defend her from our pack. She used her death magic to bind us to the moon's cycles, to make us slaves instead of masters of our transformation. Only her bloodline can undo it. And if I do this? If I break your curse? Then we leave the Iron Moon pack alone. Leave you alone. You have my word. The word of someone who just threatened my daughter means nothing. Then think of it practically. Katrina's tone turned businesslike. We're not the only Silverclaw wolves. There are dozens of us, all suffering under this curse. Break it, and you make allies of an entire pack. Refuse, and we become enemies who will never stop hunting you. Maya looked at Declan. What happens if you claim me? Really? I don't know. The admission cost him. The curse that affected Alpha James was different, specific to his bloodline. But there's always a price for bonding human and wolf. Always a risk. But there's a chance it works. A chance we both survive and I can break Katrina's curse? Maya. Yes or no, Declan? He closed his eyes. Yes. There's a chance. Then we do it. Maya's voice was steady despite her racing heart. We complete the bond. I break the curse. And everyone leaves us alone. You're insane, Sage called from where she was restraining one of the Silverclaw wolves. You have no idea what you're agreeing to. I know I'm tired of running. Tired of being hunted. Tired of being afraid. Maya looked around at all of them, Iron Moon and Silverclaw alike. I want my daughter to grow up safe. If this is how I make that happen, then this is what I do. Declan's eyes blazed amber. If I do this, if I claim you, there's no going back. You'll be bound to me, to the pack, for life. You'll be able to sense me, feel my emotions. The bond is forever, Maya. Then it's a good thing, I'm sure. She managed a shaky smile. Besides, I think Lucia would be upset if we left. She really likes it here. Something in Declan broke. Maya saw it in his eyes, the last of his resistance crumbling. He pulled her close, careful of Lucia between them, and rested his forehead against hers. Are you absolutely certain? Maya thought about the USB drive in her bag. About her mother, who she'd thought was just a secretary but had apparently been powerful enough to curse an entire pack. About the strange dreams she'd had since childhood, the way she sometimes knew things before they happened, the herbs she instinctively knew would heal or harm. Maybe there was more to her than she'd ever understood. Maybe this was always her destiny. I'm certain, she whispered. Declan's kiss was fierce and desperate, claiming her mouth with a hunger that made her knees weak. When he pulled back, his eyes were more wolf than man. Then hold on, he growled. This is going to hurt. His teeth found the curve of her neck and shoulder, and he bit down. The world exploded into sensation, pain and pleasure and a connection so deep it felt like her soul was being rewritten. Maya gasped, clutching Lucia with one hand and Declan's shoulder with the other, as power rushed through her like a flood breaking a dam. She could feel him. Feel his wolf, wild and possessive and utterly devoted to her. Feel the pack, their bonds to their alpha and now, through him, to her. Feel something deeper, older, magic in her blood, waking after a lifetime of sleep. When Declan released her, Maya staggered. He caught her easily, steadying her, and she looked up into eyes that were now completely amber. Mine, he growled. Forever. Yours, she agreed breathlessly. Power thrummed under her skin, begging to be released. Maya looked at Katrina and suddenly understood exactly what she needed to do. Give me the USB drive, she said. I need to see my mother's work. Katrina gestured, and one of her wolves brought Maya's dropped diaper bag. Maya pulled out the drive with shaking hands, and Sage immediately produced a laptop, opening it for her. The files loaded slowly. Specifications, notes, diagrams that Maya's newly awakened understanding let her read despite never having studied magic. Her mother's work, detailed and complex, showing exactly how the curse had been constructed. And there, at the end, the counter curse. Instructions written in her mother's handwriting. To my daughter, if you're reading this. I'm sorry. Sorry for the secrets, sorry for the burden I'm leaving you. But you're stronger than you know. You're a Whitmore witch, and that means something. Trust your instincts. Trust your heart. And know that I loved you, even when I had to leave you. The curse can only be broken by choice. By sacrifice freely given. By a witch's daughter who understands that true power isn't control, it's connection. You'll know what to do. Maya looked at the complex magical diagrams, at the words of power written in a language she shouldn't understand but somehow did. She looked at Katrina, at her scarred skin and desperate eyes. At the Silverclaw pack, warriors who'd been turned into slaves by her mother's pain and rage. She looked at Declan, at the pack that had become her family, at Lucia sleeping somehow peacefully despite all the chaos. And she understood. The curse wasn't just about the moon, she said softly. It was about choice. About taking away your ability to choose when and how you transform. And the counter curse isn't a spell I cast, it's a choice I make. She stood, Lucia in her arms, and faced Katrina. I forgive you. For threatening my daughter, for hunting me, for everything you did. I forgive the Silverclaw pack for the sins committed against my mother. And I choose to release you from her curse. The words came from somewhere deep, somewhere ancient. Maya felt power flow out of her, through the mating bond to Declan, through him to the pack, and from there into the air itself. The magic spread like ripples on water, reaching for every Silverclaw wolf present. Katrina gasped, falling to her knees. Around the courtyard, the other Silverclaw wolves howled, not in pain, but in relief. It's gone, Katrina whispered. The compulsion. The moon's hold. She looked up at Maya with something like wonder. You really did it. I kept my end. Maya's voice was steady despite her exhaustion. Now you keep yours. Leave us alone. Katrina nodded slowly, then shifted back into wolf form. The other Silverclaw wolves followed, and as a pack they melted back into the darkness, leaving the Iron Moon compound in silence. Maya's knees buckled, and Declan caught her, taking Lucia with his other arm. I've got you, he murmured. Both of you. Always. The pack surrounded them, Sage, Finn, Marcus, all the others, forming a protective circle around their new alpha female and her daughter. And Maya, exhausted and terrified and somehow more certain than she'd ever been, let herself lean into Declan's strength and finally stopped running. Chapter 4. The courtyard had become a battlefield. Maya clutched Lucia against her chest, feeling her daughter's heartbeat hammering in terror as wolves tore into each other with savage fury. Blood stained the moonlit ground. Snarls and yelps of pain filled the air. And in the center of it all, Declan fought like the alpha he was, powerful, ruthless, protecting what was his. But the Iron Moon pack was outnumbered. For every Silverclaw wolf they took down, two more seemed to appear from the shadows. Marcus was limping, his silver fur matted with blood. Finn fought back-to-back with Sage, both of them bleeding from multiple wounds. And still the Silverclaw pack kept coming, driven by desperation and 20 years of cursed rage. Stop. Maya's voice cut through the chaos, raw and commanding in a way she didn't recognize. Everyone stop. To her shock, they did. Wolves froze mid-attack, turning to look at her. Even the Silverclaw pack hesitated, recognizing something in her voice that demanded obedience. Declan shifted back to human form, breathing hard, blood running from a gash across his ribs. Maya, get inside. No. She stepped forward, and the wolves parted before her like a living sea. The mating bond thrummed between them, letting her feel his fear for her, his desperate need to protect her, his wolf howling to lock her away somewhere safe. This ends now. No more fighting. No more death. Katrina emerged from her pack, also shifting to human form. Her scarred body was a roadmap of old battles, and her eyes held a weariness that went beyond the physical. Noble sentiment. But you don't understand what's at stake. Then explain it to me. Maya met her gaze steadily. You said my mother cursed your pack. You said I can break it. Fine. Tell me how. It's not that simple. Make it simple. Maya's voice hardened. She was done being a victim, done being hunted, done watching good people suffer for something she didn't understand. You want me to break your curse? Then tell me exactly what that means. What it costs. What I have to do. Katrina studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Come. I'll show you what your mother did. Declan moved to block her path. Like hell. Let her. Maya touched his arm, feeling the mating bond pulse with warmth. I need to know the truth. All of it. She could feel his reluctance through the bond, his every instinct screaming to keep her safe. But after a moment, he stepped aside. I'm coming with you. We all are, Sage said, limping forward in human form now, holding her arm where claws had raked across it. Pack stays together. They moved as a group to the main building, an uneasy truce settled over both packs. Someone found clothes for those who'd shifted. Werewolves apparently didn't care much about nudity, but Maya appreciated the gesture. Lucia had finally stopped crying, her wide eyes taking in everything with a baby's strange acceptance of the impossible. In the common room, Katrina pulled out a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. This belonged to my mother. She was there the night Sarah Whitmore cursed us. Maya took the journal with trembling hands. The handwriting was elegant but hurried, as if the writer had been desperate to record everything before memory faded. She began to read aloud, her voice steady despite her racing heart. September 15, 2005. Tonight we killed Jonathan Whitmore. Alpha Frost ordered it. Said the human had seen too much, knew too much about our operations. Sarah Whitmore begged for his life. She was pregnant, they'd just gotten married. But Frost wouldn't listen. Said humans couldn't be trusted with our secrets. Maya's voice caught. She'd never known her father. Her mother had always said he died before she was born, but never gave details. Now she understood why. Sarah was there when we did it. Watched her husband die. And then she changed. Her grief turned to power. Witch magic, raw and terrible. She cursed us, all of us who were there, and our bloodlines forever after. Bound us to the moon's phases. Made it so we can't control our transformations, can't resist the call of the full moon. We became slaves instead of masters of our nature. But she left a key. A way to break it. She said, I remember her words exactly, only my daughter, when she understands the price of power and chooses love over vengeance, can free you. But it will cost her everything she thinks she knows about herself. Maya set down the journal, her hands shaking. My mother was a witch. My father was murdered. And I'm the key to breaking a 20-year-old curse. Yes. Katrina's voice was surprisingly gentle. But there's more. The curse-breaking ritual requires a sacrifice. An alpha's sacrifice, specifically. Declan went very still. What kind of sacrifice? The ritual has two paths. Katrina pulled out another document, this one more recent, covered in notes and diagrams that Maya's newly awakened instincts told her were magical research. Path 1, the alpha of a pack gives up their power completely. Severs the pack bonds, releases their position, essentially becomes human. For most alphas, this is fatal. The pack bond sustains them, flows through them. Without it, they die. No. Maya's voice was flat. There has to be another way. There is. Path 2. Katrina looked between Maya and Declan. The alpha completes a mating bond with a witch. Not just any witch, specifically a daughter of Sarah Whitmore's bloodline. The bond creates a channel between witch magic and wolf magic. Ancient power, older than either species. That combined magic can break the curse without anyone dying. The mating bond. Declan's voice was rough. I've already marked her. The mark is just the beginning. Katrina shook her head. A true mating bond requires full acceptance. The witch must consciously, willingly, open her power to the wolf. Let his nature merge with hers. It's intimate magic, soul deep. And it's permanent. Once completed, you can never be separated without both of you dying. Silence filled the room. Maya could feel Declan's turmoil through the bond, his desire for her warring with his protective instincts, his wolf demanding he complete the bond while his human side insisted he couldn't trap her like this. There's a third option, Maya said quietly. I walk away. Refuse to break the curse. Katrina and her pack remain cursed, but Declan lives and stays alpha. That's not an option. Multiple voices said it simultaneously, Katrina and Sage, speaking in unexpected unison. The Silver Claw pack has been patient, Katrina said. But there are others in my family who aren't. If you refuse to break the curse, they will kill you and your daughter out of spite. And they'll still come after the Iron Moon pack for harboring you. And if she does break the curse, Sage added, glaring at Katrina, but Declan has to die for it? Then I kill you myself, truce be damned. He's not sacrificing himself for your freedom. So my choices are, bond myself permanently to a man I've known for 3 days, or let people die. Maya laughed, the sound brittle. Great options. Maya, Declan reached for her, then stopped himself. You don't have to do this. Any of this. I'll fight every Silver Claw wolf who comes for you. The pack will protect you. Until when? Until they kill you all? Until Lucia grows up hunted? Maya shook her head. No. I'm done running. Done hiding. Done letting other people fight my battles. She stood and faced Katrina directly. Tell me exactly what I need to do. An hour later, Maya stood in the center of a ritual circle drawn in salt and crushed herbs. The pack, both Iron Moon and Silver Claw, surrounded her, wolves and humans mixed together in an uneasy peace. Lucia was safe with Marcus, who'd proven surprisingly good with babies and had volunteered to keep her away from whatever was about to happen. Declan stood across from Maya, bare-chested, the mark where his wolf had first bitten her visible as a silvery scar. His eyes were pure amber now, more wolf than man, and she could feel his barely controlled desire through the bond. Katrina had explained the ritual in clinical detail. Maya would open herself to her magic, the witch power sleeping in her blood. Declan would open himself to her, letting his wolf nature flow through the mating bond. Their combined power would create a surge of energy that would break the curse binding the Silver Claw pack to the moon's phases. Simple in theory. Potentially fatal in practice. You can still back out, Declan said quietly. No one would blame you. I would blame me. Maya smiled despite her fear. Besides, Lucia really likes it here. She'd be devastated if we left. This isn't a joke. I know. Maya reached across the circle, not quite touching him but close enough to feel the heat of his skin. I know exactly what I'm doing, Declan. I'm choosing you. Choosing this pack. Choosing a life where my daughter can grow up safe and loved. That's not something I'm doing because I have no choice. It's something I'm doing because it's the right choice. Something fierce and possessive flared in his eyes. You understand what the bond means? You'll feel everything I feel. You'll be connected to the pack through me. You'll be Luna, alpha female. That's not a title, it's a responsibility. These people will look to you for guidance, protection, leadership. Good thing I've been taking care of people my whole life then. Maya's smile turned real. I'm a nurse, remember? Taking care of others is literally what I do. Maya. Stop trying to talk me out of this. She stepped closer, the circle's boundary crackling with potential energy between them. I watched your pack fight for me tonight. Watched them bleed for me. Watched Marcus take a hit that could have killed him to keep one of those wolves away from the building where Lucia was sleeping. These people, your people, they're already my family. This just makes it official. Declan's control cracked. He pulled her against him, crushing his mouth to hers in a kiss that was more claiming than caress. Maya felt the bonds surge between them, felt his wolf rising, felt her own power, dormant for so long, begin to wake in response. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. Tell me how to do this, Maya whispered against his lips. Open yourself to me. Let me in, not just physically, but deeper. Soul deep. Let your magic recognize mine. His hands cupped her face, amber eyes boring into hers. And don't fight it when it hurts. Because it will hurt, Maya. Merging two souls always does. I'm tougher than I look. I know. His smile was sad and proud at once. You're the toughest person I've ever met. Katrina began to chant, words in a language Maya didn't recognize but somehow understood. The circle flared to life, glowing with silver blue light. The assembled packs began to howl, a haunting chorus that raised the hair on Maya's arms. Declan pulled her down to the ground, to the center of the circle where the energy was strongest. His hands were everywhere, gentle despite their strength, reverent despite their urgency. And Maya let herself fall into the sensation, let herself feel the bond between them stretch and deepen and transform into something bigger than either of them alone. His wolf nature poured into her, wild and fierce and utterly devoted. She felt the pack through him, dozens of souls connected by invisible threads. Felt their fear for their alpha, their hope for the future, their tentative acceptance of her as Luna. And she felt her own power rise to meet it. The witch magic in her blood wasn't dark or destructive like she'd feared. It was light. Warm and healing, like sunlight after rain. It recognized Declan's wolf as kin, as complement, as the other half of something ancient and right. Their powers merged. The world exploded into sensation. Maya screamed, couldn't help it, as magic and wolf nature twisted together inside her, rewriting her on a cellular level. She could feel Declan roaring in pain and triumph, could feel the mating bonds snap into place with finality that shook the earth. And then the power burst outward. It flowed through Declan to his pack, through them to the watching Silverclaw wolves, seeking out every thread of Sarah Whitmore's curse and burning it away. Maya felt the curse break like chains shattering, felt the Silverclaw pack's howls of relief as 20 years of bondage ended in an instant. Then the backlash hit. Magic this powerful always demanded a price. Maya felt it tear through her, through Declan, like fire in her veins. She heard him cry out, a sound of pure agony, and felt his body go rigid against hers. The bonds screamed warning. Something was wrong. The ritual was supposed to hurt, but not like this. Not. Declan collapsed, his body convulsing. Blood poured from his nose, his eyes, his ears. The pack bonds were killing him, too much power flowing through channels meant for wolf energy alone, burning him from the inside out. No. Maya caught him, pulling his head into her lap. No, 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 Declan, stay with me. His eyes opened, barely focusing. Did it work? I don't care. Tears streamed down her face. You're dying. Worth it. He smiled, blood on his teeth. You're safe. Lucia's safe. That's worth anything. You don't get to die on me. Maya pressed her hands to his chest, feeling the mating bond flutter weakly. Not now. Not after, I won't let you. Her magic rose instinctively, desperately. The same healing light that had broken the curse now poured into Declan, seeking out the damage, trying to repair what the ritual had destroyed. But it wasn't enough. She wasn't strong enough, didn't know what she was doing. Help me. She looked up at the assembled packs, at Sage and Finn and Marcus. How do I save him? You can't. Katrina's voice was gentle. The backlash is too severe. He's dying, Maya. I'm sorry. No. Maya looked down at Declan, at this man who'd protected her, cherished her daughter, given her a family. Who'd been willing to die for her freedom. I didn't choose this bond just to lose you. I didn't. She stopped. Choose. That was the key, wasn't it? Her mother's curse could only be broken by choice. By understanding the price of power and choosing love over vengeance. Maya had broken the curse by choosing to bond with Declan. But she hadn't fully accepted what that meant. Hadn't fully embraced her power, her identity, everything she'd become. She was a witch. A mother. A mate. And the Luna of the Iron Moon Pack. Time to act like it. Maya closed her eyes and reached deep inside herself, past the fear and doubt, to the core of her power. Not just the magic she'd inherited from her mother, but the strength she'd built herself. Years of surviving abuse, of raising Lucia alone, of working double shifts and counting pennies and never, ever giving up. That strength had magic of its own. She poured everything into Declan, her magic, her will, her absolute refusal to let him go. The mating bond flared brighter than the sun, and she felt the pack bonds flow through her, dozens of wolves lending their strength to their dying alpha. You will not die, she commanded, and her voice held power that made the air shimmer. I am your mate. I am your Luna. And I will not lose you. The healing light blazed through Declan's body, knitting torn vessels, mending damaged organs, forcing his heart to keep beating. Maya felt him fighting too, felt his wolf clawing its way back from the edge of death, drawn by her voice, by the bond, by the sheer force of her will. His eyes opened, clear, amber, alive. Maya, he breathed. She laughed and cried at the same time, collapsing against his chest. Don't ever do that to me again. Wasn't planning on it. His arms came around her, solid and strong. That was, you saved me. You saved me first. Maya pulled back to look at him. Fair's fair. Around them, the packs were cheering, howling in triumph. The curse was broken. The alpha lived. And Maya. Maya had become something new. Something powerful. Katrina approached slowly, dropping to one knee in a gesture of respect. Luna. Thank you. On behalf of my pack, thank you. Get up. Maya's voice was steadier now, finding the authority that came with her new role. We're done kneeling tonight. Done with cursing and fighting. It's time for something different. A truce? Katrina stood, hope flickering in her scarred face. More than that. Maya looked around at both packs, bloody, exhausted, but alive. An alliance. The Silver Claw and Iron Moon packs, working together. Protecting this territory together. Because I have a feeling we're going to need all the strength we can get. Why? Sage asked. Maya thought about the USB drive, still in her pocket. About her mother's hidden life and the power sleeping in Maya's blood. About the ease with which she'd just performed a ritual that should have been beyond her abilities. Because breaking one curse isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. And I have a feeling that people are going to notice what happened here tonight. The Witch Council, Katrina said quietly. They outlawed unions between witches and werewolves centuries ago. Too much power, they said. Too dangerous. If they find out what you've done, then let them come. Declan pulled Maya closer, possessive and protective. She's packed now. Luna of the Iron Moon. Anyone who threatens her threatens us all. A chorus of howls answered him, agreement, acceptance, loyalty. Maya let the sound wash over her, let herself feel the pack bonds humming in her blood. She was connected to all of them now, could sense each member like a thread in a vast tapestry. It was overwhelming and beautiful and terrifying all at once. Lucia's cry cut through the celebration. Marcus appeared with the baby, who was reaching for Maya with desperate arms. Someone wants her mama. Maya took her daughter, holding her close, and felt Declan's arms come around them both. Lucia looked up at Declan and giggled, her tiny hand reaching to pat his scarred cheek. And for just a moment, Maya could have sworn her daughter's eyes flashed amber. She exchanged a look with Declan, saw her own shock reflected in his face. Had Lucia inherited something from the bond? From the magic that had flowed through Maya during the ritual? Questions for later. Right now, all that mattered was that they were alive, together, and safe. The packs began to disperse, tending wounds and making peace. Katrina approached once more, her expression grave. There's something you should know. My mother, the one who wrote that journal, she was once Declan's friend. Before the curse, before everything went wrong. We weren't always enemies. Declan went very still. Katrina. I didn't, you look like her. Like she did before. Before the curse twisted us into something ugly. I know. Katrina's smile was sad. We lost a lot that night. Not just our freedom, but our humanity. I did things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who didn't deserve it. But maybe now, she looked around at the mixed packs, at the tentative peace. Maybe now we can be better than what we were forced to become. I'd like that, Declan said quietly. Amara would have liked that too. They clasped forearms, warrior to warrior, old friends reunited. Then Katrina nodded to Maya, respect in her eyes, and rejoined her pack. Who's Amara? Maya asked. Katrina's mother. My first friend, before I became Alpha. Declan's voice was rough with old grief. She died 5 years ago. The curse had twisted her so badly by then that she couldn't hold human form anymore. Went mad with the moon's call. Maya pressed closer, offering comfort. So much pain, so much loss, all stemming from one night of violence 20 years ago. But maybe that cycle was broken now. Maybe they could build something new from the ashes. They made their way back to Maya's room, their room now, she supposed, though they'd have to figure out the logistics later. Lucia had fallen asleep against Maya's shoulder, exhausted by the night's chaos. As Maya settled her daughter in the crib, she felt eyes on her back. She turned to find Declan watching her with an expression of such love and wonder that it stole her breath. What? You. He crossed the room, pulling her into his arms. You're amazing, you know that? Brave and strong, Anne. Terrified out of my mind? Maya laughed shakily. I'm still processing everything that happened. Everything I did. I don't even know how I knew. Instinct. Declan kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You trusted your instincts. That's what makes a good Luna. I'm not sure I'm ready to be Luna. You've been ready your whole life. You just didn't know it yet. He held her closer. But we'll figure it out together. All of it. I promise. Maya let herself lean into his strength, feeling the mating bond hum contentedly between them. She was home. Not in a place, but in a person. In a pack. In a life she'd never imagined but somehow always wanted. A flicker of movement outside the window caught her eye. Just a shadow, there and gone, but something about it made her skin prickle with unease. "Did you see that?" Declan moved to the window, his body tensing. "I don't see anything." "Why?" "I thought." Maya shook her head. "Never mind. Just nerves." But as they settled into bed, exhausted and aching, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. In the shadows beyond the compound, a woman stood perfectly still. She was elegant in a way that transcended fashion, ageless, with silver hair and eyes that held the weight of centuries. In her hands, she held a leather-bound book, its pages filled with names written in silver ink. She opened the book to a blank page and wrote carefully. Maya Torres Cross. Whitmore bloodline. Bonded to Alpha Declan Cross of the Iron Moon Pack. Status, active. Threat level, unknown. The woman snapped the book shut and smiled, a cold, calculating expression that held no warmth. "The bloodline awakens," she murmured to the night. "After all these years, Sarah's daughter has emerged. And bonded herself to a werewolf, no less." She tilted her head, considering. "The council will be interested." She raised one hand, and reality seemed to ripple around her. When the air settled, she was gone, leaving only disturbed leaves and the faint scent of ozone. Inside the compound, Maya jerked awake, her heart racing. She'd felt something, a presence, watching, judging. Magic that tasted ancient and cold. Declan stirred beside her. "What's wrong?" "I don't know." Maya looked toward the window, where the curtains moved in a breeze that shouldn't exist. "But I think we just got noticed by something dangerous. Then we'll face it together." Declan pulled her close, and she felt the pack bonds surge with protective energy. "Whatever comes, you're not alone anymore." Maya nodded and let herself relax back into his arms. He was right. She wasn't alone. She had Declan, the pack, and power she was only beginning to understand. But as she drifted back towards sleep, she couldn't shake the certainty that their greatest challenges were still ahead. A soft sound made her eyes open. Lucia was awake in her crib, not crying but staring at the ceiling with unusual focus. As Maya watched, her daughter's eyes flashed amber, unmistakably wolf, before fading back to their normal brown. "Declan," Maya whispered. "Look." He saw it too. They stared at their daughter. Not biologically his, but his in every way that mattered now, and understood that the bond between them had changed more than just Maya. Lucia had inherited something from the magic that had flowed through her mother during the ritual. Something that made her unique in the supernatural world, not fully wolf, not fully witch, but something new. Something unprecedented. "Well," Declan said finally, a smile tugging at his lips despite the worry in his eyes. "I guess we're going to have our hands full." Maya laughed, the sound tired but genuine. "When haven't we?" She climbed back into bed, feeling Declan's warmth at her back and listening to Lucia's soft breathing. Her daughter. Her mate. Her pack. Her family. Whatever came next, witch councils or ancient curses or the mysterious woman in the shadows, they would face it together. Because Maya Torres Cross was a survivor. A healer. A mother. A witch. And the Luna of the Iron Moon Pack. And she was done being afraid. Outside, the full moon hung low on the horizon, its light painting the compound silver. In the distance, wolves howled, not in pain or fury, but in triumph. The sound carried across the night, a declaration to all who could hear. The pack was whole. The Luna had risen. And anyone who threatened them would face the fury of the Iron Moon. Let the trials begin. The end. Or is it? In a tower that existed between dimensions, the silver-haired woman opened her book once more. She ran her finger down a list of names, witches who'd violated the council's laws, werewolves who'd overstepped their bounds, and now, Maya Torres Cross. Sarah's daughter, she mused. And bonded to an alpha, with a child who carries both bloodlines. The council hasn't seen something like this in 400 years. She closed the book with a snap that echoed like thunder. "Let the trials begin," she whispered, and somewhere in the compound, Maya shivered without knowing why. The moon continued its journey across the sky, uncaring of human, or inhuman, concerns. But if anyone had been watching closely, they might have noticed that its light seemed to shine just a bit brighter on the Iron Moon compound. As if the universe itself was marking this place, these people, as significant. As if the story that had ended tonight was really just beginning. Lucia giggled in her sleep, her tiny hands glowing faintly amber, and outside, the pack howled their joy to the stars. Epilogue, Home. 6 months later. The smell of coffee and bacon filled the main hall of the Iron Moon compound, mixing with the sharper scent of motor oil drifting in from the garage. Maya stood at the industrial-sized stove, flipping pancakes while simultaneously bouncing Lucia on her hip, a skill she'd perfected over the past months of living in organized chaos. "Mama." Lucia squealed, pointing at the doorway where Declan had just appeared, his hair still wet from the shower and his shirt only half-buttoned. "Good morning, little wolf." He crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and kissed Maya's temple before stealing a piece of bacon. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." Maya transferred the pancakes to a platter, already piled high with enough food to feed an army. Or a werewolf pack, which amounted to the same thing. "Sage and I are taking the new pack members through their first full moon protocol today, and I wanted to make sure everything was ready." "You mean you wanted to stress bake?" Declan took Lucia from her arms, tossing the giggling baby into the air with a confidence that had taken Maya weeks to stop panicking over. "Admit it, you're nervous." "I'm not nervous. I'm..." Maya paused, searching for the right word. "Determined." There's a difference. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change. After the night of the curse breaking, word had spread through the supernatural community like wildfire. The Iron Moon Pack, once just another motorcycle club keeping to themselves, had become something of a legend. And Maya, the human-turned witch who'd bonded with an alpha and freed an entire cursed bloodline, had become the most unlikely Luna in werewolf history. At first, it had been terrifying. Maya had spent weeks studying her mother's journals, learning about the magic in her blood and the responsibilities that came with being a Luna. Declan had been patient, the pack supportive, but there had been moments when Maya had locked herself in their room and cried from sheer overwhelm. Then Sage had knocked on the door with a bottle of whiskey and a brutal truth: nobody expects you to be perfect. They just expect you to show up. So stop hiding and show up. Best advice Maya had ever received. She'd shown up. Every day. For training sessions and pack meetings, for full moon runs, even though she couldn't shift, riding beside them on Declan's bike felt right, for dispute resolutions and treaty negotiations with neighboring packs. She'd learned that being Luna wasn't about having all the answers, it was about being present, being honest, and being willing to fight for her people. And somewhere along the way, the pack had stopped being Declan's people and become theirs. Earth to Maya. Declan's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "You're burning the pancakes." "Shit." Maya rescued the smoking pan, dumping the ruined pancakes into the trash. "See? This is what I'm talking about. How am I supposed to lead new pack members through their first transformation when I can't even make breakfast without Maya?" Declan set Lucia in her high chair and pulled Maya into his arms, his hands warm and steady on her waist. "Breathe. You've got this. You've had this since day one, even when you didn't believe it." Maya let herself lean into him, feeling the mating bond pulse with reassurance and love. 6 months, and the bond still sometimes took her breath away with its intensity. She could feel Declan's absolute faith in her, his wolf's pride in their mate, and underneath it all, a love so fierce it made her chest ache. "What did I do to deserve you?" she whispered against his chest. "Testified against a drug dealer, got hunted by cursed werewolves, saved my life, and agreed to lead a pack of misfits." His voice rumbled with amusement. "Pretty standard Tuesday for you, apparently." She laughed despite herself. "When you put it that way." "Luna." Finn burst through the door, his golden hair wild and his grin infectious. The new kids are here. And they're terrified. I think one of them might actually pee himself. Finn. Maya pulled away from Declan, smoothly transitioning into Luna mode. Please tell me you didn't actually say that to them. Of course not. I'm charming and welcoming. He paused. Sage might have mentioned something about ritual combat to establish pack hierarchy, though. Sage. Maya marched toward the door, hearing Declan's laughter behind her. What have I told you about hazing the new members? She found Sage in the courtyard with 3 nervous-looking teenagers, 2 boys and a girl, all around 16 or 17, all newly turned and lost. They'd come from different circumstances, but the story was always similar: bitten by rogue wolves, abandoned by their makers, left to figure out their new nature alone until the Iron Moon Pack found them. This was the work Maya had thrown herself into over the past months. Finding lost wolves, especially the young ones, and giving them a home. Teaching them control, giving them family, showing them that being a werewolf didn't have to mean being a monster. Luna. The girl, Clara, Maya remembered, practically fell over herself bowing. We didn't mean to arrive early, but Thomas got nervous and shifted in the car, and then Miguel panicked and we just... Breathe, Clara. Maya used her Luna voice. The one that carried just enough power to make even the most anxious wolf calm down. You're safe here. All of you. And there's no ritual combat for new members. Sage was messing with you. Sage had the grace to look slightly sheepish. I was testing their fear responses. Important for training. Maya turned back to the teenagers, gentling her voice. I know tonight is scary. Your first full moon with a pack, learning to control the transformation, it's a lot. But you're not alone. We're going to walk you through every step. And if you need anything at all, you ask. No question is too small or too stupid. Understood? 3 heads nodded in unison, the fear in their eyes slowly being replaced by cautious hope. Good. Now, have you eaten? Shifting takes a lot of energy, and you'll need. I've got this. Marcus appeared from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. Over the past months, the elderly mechanic had become something of a den father to the younger pack members, gruff but infinitely patient. Come on, pups. Let's get some food in you while Luna finishes her stress baking. I'm not stress baking. Maya called after them, but Marcus just chuckled and herded the teenagers toward the kitchen. Sage moved to stand beside Maya, watching the kids disappear into the building. You're good at this, you know. The Luna thing. Better than anyone expected. Thanks. I think it's a compliment. Sage bumped Maya's shoulder, a gesture of affection from the normally reserved warrior. When Declan first brought you here, I thought you'd last maybe a week. Humans don't usually adapt well to our world. But you. She paused, choosing her words carefully. You don't just adapt. You improve things. Make them better. Maya felt her throat tighten with emotion. Sage didn't give compliments lightly. Thank you. That means a lot. Don't let it go to your head. But Sage was smiling. Come on. We've got a full moon protocol to review, and I want to make sure the perimeter wards are holding. Katrina sent word that she might bring some of her pack tonight, wants them to learn our methods. The alliance with the Silverclaw pack had held strong over the past months. Freed from their curse, they'd slowly transformed from a criminal organization into something more legitimate. Katrina had proven herself a valuable ally, and her friendship with Declan, rekindled after 20 years, had brought a peace to the territory that benefited everyone. Still, combining packs for a full moon was delicate work. Instincts ran high, territorial drives were strong, and one wrong move could spark a challenge. Which was exactly why Maya had been up since dawn, stress baking and triple-checking every detail. By the time the sun set, the compound was ready. The perimeter was secured, the ritual space prepared, and the pack assembled. The 3 new teenagers stood close together, trying not to look terrified. Katrina's silver claw wolves had arrived an hour ago, bringing their own nervous newbies. Maya stood at Declan's side, Lucia secure in a carrier on her chest. They debated leaving the baby inside, but Lucia had inherited enough wolf nature through the bond that she got cranky when separated from the pack during the moon. Better to keep her close and calm than deal with a magically enhanced tantrum. Ready? Declan's hand found Maya's, their fingers intertwining. As I'll ever be. She looked around at the assembled wolves, Iron Moon and Silver Claw, old members and new, all looking to her and Declan for guidance. Let's do this. The ritual was beautiful in its simplicity. Declan led the established pack members in the shift, showing the new wolves how to embrace the transformation rather than fight it. Maya couldn't shift herself, she was witch, not wolf, but she could use her magic to ease the transition, to soothe the pain and fear that came with those first few changes. She moved among the new wolves as they transformed, her hands glowing with gentle light, her voice steady and calm. That's it, Clara. Don't fight it. Let it flow through you. You're safe. We've got you. Clara's shift was smoother than most first-timers, her wolf form smaller but graceful. She looked up at Maya with amber eyes full of gratitude and wonder. Beautiful, Maya whispered, running her fingers through the wolf's fur. You're doing so well. One by one, the new wolves completed their transformations. Some struggled more than others, but Maya was there for each of them, lending her magic and her presence. She felt Declan's pride through the bond, felt the pack's growing cohesion as they accepted their newest members. This was what being Luna meant. Not power or status, but service. Being there when her people needed her, offering strength when theirs faltered, building bridges between the old and the new. By the time the moon reached its zenith, the courtyard was filled with wolves of all sizes and colors. They moved together in a complex dance, establishing bonds and hierarchy through play-fighting and displays of submission and dominance. To an outsider, it might have looked chaotic. To Maya, it was beautiful, a family finding its rhythm. Lucia gurgled happily in her carrier, her eyes flashing amber as she watched the wolves. Maya had stopped being surprised by her daughter's displays of inherited power. Lucia couldn't shift, probably would never be able to, since she hadn't been born a wolf, but she had other gifts. She could sense emotions like a natural empath, could calm aggressive wolves with her presence, and sometimes, when she was particularly excited, her baby babble carried an edge of magical compulsion that made even alpha wolves pay attention. She's going to be trouble when she's older, Katrina said, appearing at Maya's side in human form. Unlike the others, Katrina could control her shifts now, choosing when and how she transformed. A witch-wolf hybrid with an alpha's daughter attitude? The supernatural world isn't ready. Tell me about it. Maya adjusted the carrier, smiling as Lucia reached for Katrina with chubby hands. But at least she'll have a whole pack to help raise her. It takes a village, right? Or a pack. Katrina's expression softened as she let Lucia grab her finger. You've built something good here, Maya. Something worth protecting. We've built it. All of us together. Maya looked around at the wolves, at the life they'd created. I couldn't have done any of this alone. Maybe not. But you're the heart of it. Katrina met her eyes. Don't forget that. When the hard times come, and they will come, remember that you're the reason this pack is strong. You and your stubborn refusal to give up on people. Before Maya could respond, a howl split the night, triumphant and joyful. The new wolves had completed their first successful pack hunt, bringing down a deer that Declan had strategically positioned for them. They were prancing with pride, tails wagging, practically glowing with accomplishment. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. 6 months ago, these kids had been alone and terrified. Now they were part of something bigger. They belonged. Thank you, she whispered to no one in particular. To the universe, maybe. To her mother, whose legacy had led Maya to this life. To Declan, who'd seen her worth when she couldn't. To the pack, who'd accepted her despite every reason not to. Thank you for this family. This home. This impossible, beautiful life. Hours later, after the moon had set and the wolves had shifted back to human form, the pack gathered in the main hall for what had become tradition, the aftermoon feast. It was part celebration, part recovery. Shifting took enormous energy, and everyone was starving. Maya had prepared enough food to feed a small army, with help from Marcus and some of the older pack members who'd learned that their Luna showed love through cooking. The tables groaned under the weight of roasted meats, fresh bread, vegetables, and more desserts than any reasonable group of people should consume. Speech. Finn called out, his mouth full of food. Luna's gotta give a speech. I do not. Maya started, but the whole pack took up the chant. Even Katrina's wolves joined in, grinning. Maya looked helplessly at Declan, who just smiled and shrugged. No help there. She stood, Lucia drowsing in her arms, and waited for the noise to die down. When she had everyone's attention, she realized she had no idea what to say. She'd never been good at speeches, had always felt awkward being the center of attention. But these were her people. Her family. They deserved words from the heart. 6 months ago, she began, her voice carrying across the hall. I was a single mom working double shifts, living in a crappy apartment, just trying to survive day to day. I had no family except Lucia. No real friends. No idea who I really was or what I was capable of. She paused, looking around at the faces watching her, wolves and humans, old members and new, all part of this strange, wonderful pack. Then I testified against a drug dealer, got hunted by cursed werewolves, and ended up here. And I thought I was just passing through, you know? Thought I'd stay a few days until things blew over, then go back to my regular life. A few chuckles at that. Everyone knew how spectacularly that plan had failed. But somewhere between learning that werewolves are real and accidentally becoming a Luna, something changed. I stopped surviving and started living. I found family. Found purpose. Found magic I didn't know I had, and I'm not just talking about the witch stuff. Maya felt her voice crack with emotion but pushed through. The magic of belonging. Of being seen and accepted for who you really are. Of having people who will fight for you, protect you, love you even when you're a mess. She looked directly at Declan, who was watching her with such love it made her breath catch. So thank you. All of you. For taking in a confused human and her baby. For teaching me what it means to be pack. For being the family I didn't know I needed. Maya raised her glass. Water, since she was still technically on Luna duty and needed to stay sharp. To the Iron Moon pack. To new beginnings. And to coming home. To coming home. The chorus echoed through the hall, glasses raised, voices raised, joy filling every corner of the space. As everyone drank and returned to their conversations, Declan pulled Maya aside, into one of the quieter corners of the hall. That was beautiful, he said, cupping her face in his hands. You're beautiful. Everything about you. I'm a mess, Maya protested. I stress bake, I still can't throw a proper punch despite months of training, and I cried 3 times today because I was worried about the new kids. You care. Declan's thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. You care so deeply about everyone here. That's not weakness, Maya. That's what makes you perfect for this. Perfect is a strong word. You're perfect for me. He kissed her softly, carefully, mindful of Lucia sleeping between them. For us. For this pack. And I thank whatever force in the universe sent you to that gas station 6 months ago. Maya melted into him, feeling the mating bond hum with contentment. I love you. So much it scares me sometimes. I love you too. Declan rested his forehead against hers. My mate. My Luna. My everything. Lucia chose that moment to wake up and immediately start fussing, perfect timing, as always. Maya laughed and shifted her daughter to a more comfortable position. Duty calls, she said. Someone needs a diaper change and probably wants to practice her new trick where she makes things float when she's happy. I'll come with you. Declan took Lucia, who immediately stopped fussing and grabbed his nose. Besides, I want to see if she can make my keys float again. That was hilarious. They made their way through the celebrating pack, stopping every few feet so someone could coo over Lucia or share a moment with their Luna and Alpha. It took 20 minutes to cross a room that should have taken 2, but Maya didn't mind. These small moments, the casual touches, the inside jokes, the easy affection, were what made this place home. Later, with Lucia finally asleep in her crib and the compound settling into quiet, Maya stood at the window of their bedroom and looked out over the territory. The moon had set, but the security lights illuminated the courtyard where a few wolves were still lingering, talking in low voices, reluctant to let the night end. She felt Declan's arms wrap around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured against her hair. "Everything." "Nothing." Maya leaned into his warmth. "Just, how different my life is now. How much has changed." "Regrets?" "Not even one." She turned in his arms, looking up at his scarred, beautiful face. "Well, maybe I regret not meeting you sooner. We wasted a lot of years being apart. We found each other when we were supposed to." Declan's hand came up to trace the mating mark on her shoulder, faded now to a silvery scar but still visible. "Everything before led us to that gas station. To this moment." Spoken like a true romantic. "Don't tell the pack. I have a reputation to maintain." But he was smiling, and Maya felt his joy through the bond. They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other, watching their pack settle in for the night. Through the window, Maya could see Marcus showing one of the new kids how to properly clean a motorcycle chain. Could see Sage and Finn arm wrestling while others placed bets. Could see Katrina's wolves mingling with their own, barriers slowly breaking down. This was her life now. These were her people. This compound with its converted warehouses and makeshift training grounds and motorcycles lined up like mechanical cavalry, this was home. "Hey," Declan said softly. "I never thanked you properly." "For what?" "For saying yes. For accepting the bond. For choosing this life." His voice was rough with emotion. "I know it wasn't easy. No, I didn't give you much choice that first night. You gave me every choice." Maya cut him off gently. "You tried to send me away, remember? Tried to protect me by keeping your distance. I'm the one who chose to stay." "Who chose you?" "Best decision you ever made?" "Second best." At his raised eyebrow, she grinned. "First was deciding to keep Lucia, even when I was alone and terrified and had no idea how I'd manage. She led me to you. Led us both to this family." Declan's arms tightened around her. "Then I owe that little girl everything. You can tell her that when she's older and demanding a motorcycle of her own. She's not getting a motorcycle until she's 30. She's going to have actual magical powers, Declan. I think a motorcycle is the least of our worries." They both laughed, and the sound was warm and real and full of all the things they'd built together: love, trust, family, home. From her crib, Lucia made a soft sound, not quite awake, but aware of her parents' happiness. A gentle glow emanated from her tiny body for just a moment, warm and golden, before fading back to normal. Maya and Declan exchanged a look. "Definitely going to be trouble," Declan said. "The best kind of trouble." Maya smiled and pulled him toward the bed. "Now come on. We have approximately 6 hours before she wakes up demanding breakfast, and I intend to spend at least some of that time sleeping." "Just sleeping?" Declan's eyes gleamed amber in the darkness. "Well, maybe not just sleeping." He laughed and caught her up in his arms, carrying her to bed despite her protests that she could walk perfectly well. They fell into the sheets together, a tangle of limbs and laughter and love, and Maya thought that this simple joy, was better than any fairy tale ending. Because this wasn't an ending at all. It was a beginning. A beginning of late nights and early mornings, of pack drama and magical mishaps. Of watching Lucia grow up surrounded by dozens of protective aunts and uncles. Of building something stronger than any curse, deeper than any magic. A beginning of home. As Maya drifted towards sleep, wrapped in Declan's arms with the mating bonds singing contentment between them and Lucia's soft breathing nearby, she sent out one more silent thank you. To her mother, whose magic had given Maya this gift. To the pack, who'd welcomed her. To Declan, who'd seen her worth when she couldn't. And to Lucia, the tiny human who'd given Maya a reason to keep fighting when everything else had fallen apart. Thank you for this life. This love. This impossible, beautiful, chaotic, perfect home. Outside, a wolf howled, just one, calling out to the moon that had already set. It was answered by another howl, then another, until the whole territory echoed with the sound. Not a call to hunt. Not a warning. Just pack, celebrating being together. Celebrating being home. And Maya, Luna of the Iron Moon, mother and mate and witch, smiled in her sleep and dreamed of all the tomorrows still to come. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share and subscribe for more.